So Technogym we've worked with for many years as partners at McLaren. I've been lucky enough to work with them from the very beginning when we first opened the Fitness and Wellbeing Centre downstairs. I opened it on this very first day when I started here in 2006. The equipment we've used with the race team and with the drivers, especially with the young drivers, developing them through the years from a very young age up to Formula One and all through the different race series.
Yeah, I think very much similar to yourself. I've been at Warwickshire since the infancy of our sort of partnership with Technogym. We were very lucky. We had a complete stadium refit, new stadium built, which involved having a new gym facility, which meant that guys could train on a regular basis, and there wouldn't be any travel to a local gym. Had everything on site, so I was lucky enough to help oversee the project that involved developing that. And we've been lucky enough now to run with Technogym for near on 5 years.
Fantastic.
And that most recently saw an overhaul in the last 12 months, which is brilliant. You know, great equipment. Really lucky. Also, actually having the site, the gym site, on site near the dressing room means that our junior players as well as the first team players get to use the facility, and they're used to the surroundings, the environment on a daily basis, so there's no real shocks for them when they hopefully do make it onto a first team contract basis.
Yeah, very similar. I'm sure there's very similar aspects to what you do with your players compared to how we support our drivers through strength and conditioning, through the monitoring and support. Technogym equipment has provided the opportunity to train the drivers, the race team, the pit crews in a more functional capacity.
Yeah.
And the types of equipment, especially with the new Kinesis line, can be very useful, not only from a seated position but also standing. You can still use the same equipment standing, and especially for the race team, the pit crew who work in 2 seconds, removing the tyre and working as an orchestra almost.
Yeah. We've already touched on it briefly through just a discussion earlier, but I think whilst to your general viewer cricket and Formula One are very far removed, there's a lot of similar things that we can pull on. I mean, for a cricketer, a fast bowler, or even a fielder, there's a lot of anti-rotational work.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to brace and create a platform in which you can then generate power to throw a ball, strike a ball, or just bowl a ball over a repeated interval. You know, could be for an hour, could be for 5 days. So some of those things, you know, and some of the cornering aspects that your guys, the G-forces they'll experience going around corners. Another thing, you know, acuity. A lot of our guys, they'll use visual cues on a regular basis. They'll look at the shape of the batsman as he's about to play a shot, and that'll give the fielders little clues as to the kind of agility and movements they're going to have to make. You know, very similar, I think, to in my experience of Formula One and motorsport. You know, guys having to look and guess where they're going to have to brake. So they're looking for those little bits of information all the while.
A very similar approach as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we're both supporting athletes. All athletes have a very similar objective, is to improve performance, maintain performance, and keep striving to win. And that's a McLaren ethos all through the company. And with working with the race team and the drivers, the human performance team who I'm part of, we use similar techniques, especially with the drivers and also with the race team. Although we're talking about drivers especially, we can't forget with the race team, they're having to gun off the wheel, put on the wheel in sort of 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And this requires a lot of sort of cognitive performance and abilities and acuity, as you were saying, which are similar to what the cricket players would require.
Yeah.
In order to perform at their best. We're quite lucky actually. We have a F1 trainer, as it's called, which is the most specific piece of equipment which keeps the driver in a very much a specific position to how they're used to being in the car. I'm sure you'll see this today, and it helps develop their neck strength and also the strength of the muscles that are recruited and used when they're steering. and we especially use that as a way of preparing the young drivers for their racing and their competition.
In terms of what we do at Edgbaston, we're always looking to innovate. We're very lucky to have a partner like Technogym who give us the opportunity to do that, not only through the sort of variance in the amount of equipment that they can offer, often finding solutions for us. We had a very bespoke gym area that we needed to kit out, and they were great at doing that for us and finding solutions that worked. I think even just partnering us, giving us the opportunity to meet people like yourselves and see how you guys operate and find best practice from there, and that's a real benefit for us as well. Yeah, I think in terms of Technogym, they've been very big in terms of building a wellness culture, which spreads far and beyond just the players. I think if club-wide, even down to the office staff, if we can provide a wellness culture, we often give office staff the opportunity to use our gym area. Healthier body, healthy mind, all that the kind of mantra that Technogym really does push on us. That can be a really big influencer for us as well.
Yeah, we're very similar. I mean, the culture throughout McLaren is about performance. As we know as coaches that being physically able provides you with the ability to work more productively. I think and Technogym, who provided new equipment in our facility this year, has been fantastic, and the uptake of actual usage in the facility has picked up to quite a large degree. We have a certain capacity of the amount of employees that we can have down in the facility. However, it's the usage is very high, and Technogym obviously provide that opportunity for our employees to benefit from using their equipment.
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to win a one-day tournament this year. We place a big emphasis on winning tournaments. We've been lucky enough to win the championship in 2012, and also more recently the T20 tournament as well. So, thankfully, I'd like to say that part of that is down to our partnership with Technogym. The facility they've provided us gives us the opportunity to be at the best of our performance. So
fantastic, and congratulations with that. Stoffel Van Dorn, who's replacing Jensen next year, is an exciting prospect. I've been very fortunate to support him over the last 4 years and work with him with his race wins that he's had in GP2, which is one of the higher formulas within Formula One. Throughout that time, we've obviously used Technogym equipment to increase and improve his performance, to be able to drive the cars effectively. The lower formulas do have a much higher load, especially in steering. So upper body strength and performance is really important. So we use, as you remarked previously about periodization models and how we periodize their actual structure and plan over the season, and then how we actually develop them over in the off season is extremely important, because they don't have the time in the car as much as they used to.
Yeah.
So the off-season training becomes extremely important. So working with Technogym and working now with Applied Technologies, we're able to really develop that technology, biotelemetry devices and monitoring of the actual drivers themselves as athletes. We're able to understand much more about the actual human element of their performance. The car itself has over 200 sensors monitoring the car at any one time, so we're striving towards the same kind of monitoring with the actual human. So with the human performance team, which is managed by Clayton Green, I'm part of that team, and my focus and attention is on the drivers. So we're able to then start to really develop that through Applied Technologies. As an engineering company, our focus is on machine, and with the human performance program and team, our focus is on the human machine. So through the technology and the understanding of how we've developed the drivers and the race teams, we can take that to the corporate world and start working within the corporate market, and developing our understanding and supporting them in the same way that the technology that's on the Formula One car has developed into the real world on road cars. So we can start to do the same kind of principle with working with people, whether it be people working in a sort of similar environment to this, or in executive environments. The cognitive abilities and their postural and biomechanics, and how important being physically able is to actually being mentally able, in terms of actually work performance. So it integrates as one, and we can use that to strive forwards in both areas.
That's brilliant. I think at Warwickshire the big thing for us is making sure that we continue to develop and drive that sort of professional environment.
Yes.
And make sure that that's a common thread that runs all the way through, from your first team players who are actually performing on a regular basis, right down to your under 11 guys, or even the guys who just come for trials. Making sure that as soon as they walk through the door, they really do get a feel for the performance environment that we create. Yeah,
that's really good. And I think with the versatility of equipment that we have now, especially with the development that Technogym have made over the years, with their understanding of how the body functions, even from the fact that most facilities years ago, or most gyms years ago, used to have fixed equipment, which isn't necessarily very functional for the body. That can be beneficial for injury rehabilitation, but they've taken that step further and started to develop those types of machines into a more functional capacity of how the human body is meant to move, and we can use that to our advantage, for not only using it with the drivers, with the race team, but also with our employees at McLaren.
Yeah, I think in terms of yourselves, it's not dissimilar with Technogym in terms of them keeping us at the cutting edge of technology. In terms of the training environment, I think we've got an ongoing relationship, and it's something that on a regular basis they're coming back to us, and we're going back to them with ideas and concepts that hopefully will drive things as we move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to work with partners, for Technogym and for us. So as you say, it's that communication process and an understanding, and that's the only way to really push forward and develop. And that's what we're both really passionate about, and I can tell that obviously from yourself, that it's something we are passionate about, and that and we know that we can obviously assist in that process, both for our own company, but also with Technogym.